So earlier we talked about craniosacral therapy a little bit, like you just to elaborate on that and why you feel it's important, why you choose to finish so many of your dental visits doing that. And you also mentioned energy work. Talk to us about what you mean by energy work as well.
Well, I became fascinated with craniotherapy about 30 years ago when I first learned from George Eversole about craniotherapy and took some courses from Dr. Viola Fryman. I came away from there with first of all, just for your audience, there's 22 bones in the head that all move in a should move in a rhythmic movement 10 to 14 times a minute. And your tailbone or your sacrum moves in rhythm with your head. It's a pumping mechanism that pumps the cerebral spinal fluid from your brain down your spinal cord and back to your brain. What moves that is probably an inherent energy flow in the body. I'm not sure anybody really could tell you exactly what causes it because it's part of life, what gives us our life in general. When I first got introduced to craniotherapy and also to the concept of energy in the body, and I bought a machine called, let's see, what was the name of it? Anyway, it was a simplified version of the Dermatron machine. It was very simple. You just test acupuncture points on the fingers and toes, and has a dial on it that would go from 0 to 100. And 50 was the balance of the body. And I had at that time a few patients who were interested in alternative health care, and so I'd stayed from work at night and played with this machine and would test their acupuncture systems to see what was out of balance in their body. It's now being used at EAV, electrodermal screening, and now it's used with computer systems. But at that time it was a very simple system, and then I would do craniotherapy on them after I had tested them on this machine, and almost every time I did that, all the reading, and then I would retest them after I did some craniotherapy, and on almost every case the system was 50. It would go to balance. I thought that was very fascinating, that something like craniotherapy could have that effect.
Mm.
Why? I had no idea. I still don't know, really. You can make all kinds of assumptions, but
Yeah.
anyway, so after I did that for a while, I realized I didn't have time to be doing this on every patient, just because I was really excited because it was something that could possibly help people. So I put the machine away and quit using it. Also found a type I mentioned earlier about Hal Huggins, and he had an instrument they used to determine which mercury fillings in the body needed to be taken out first, and he had a machine that tested the voltage on each filling, and he would take the ones that had the highest reading out first, because he determined that was probably the ones the body wanted taken out first. Well, I had that machine too, and I did the same thing. I would test the teeth, and then I would do craniotherapy and retest the teeth. And all the values were lower. So I didn't know which one to do first, so I threw that machine away too and started doing muscle testing instead, asking the body what they wanted instead of some instrument telling me what needed to be done. And that's worked very well over the years. But back to craniotherapy, I've learned over the years that doing craniotherapy on people for even 5 minutes just helped rebalance their system. So when they got out of the dentist chair after having their mouth open for an hour or whatever, and being in a state of tension, cranial therapy would just help them relax.
Yeah.
So that they could leave the office maybe feeling better when they came in.
I've always really appreciated it. It's something every time you do it. There've been a couple times where for whatever reason, you didn't end up doing it at the end of the appointment. I always really missed it.
I try it. I don't do it on every patient. Some people think it's weird, but a lot of people really like it, and I just feel like it just helps balance the body back to maybe something better what they came in with.
Yeah. Now you mentioned energy work. I see craniosacral as part of what craniosacral work is, energy work.
Well, it really is energy work. It's in my opinion, it's using the body's energy to fix itself. As a facilitator with your hands on somebody's head, you're just allowing the body to literally fix itself. You're giving it permission, if you want, to use the body's own innate energy to move in a way that the body wants to move, to release some inner tension that who knows what it's coming from or what created it. But anyway, that's part of why I do it. And energy work, in my opinion, there's people can put your hands on people and feel all kinds of stuff. I have never been blessed with that ability that much. Even though I've done this for years, I have a different sense of things than some people do. I'm going to throw this in because I think it's important for people, especially dentists, to understand this. I learned when I first started learning all this stuff, I started treating TMJ problems with splints, with appliances of different kinds, and knowing that affected the cranial rhythm, and knowing that that's just part of the whole body system. Learned about how people's teeth fit together. And again, in my mind, it was always this weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth thing. Why do we do this as humans? And after learning all these things that were taught in all the courses about TMJ problems, splint therapy, bite issues, cranial things, tried to do all that, and people would still come back sometimes complaining that things weren't right, that nothing was being fixed. And I started listening more carefully to what people were saying. And the jaw problem is a relationship issue. The upper and lower jaw relates to one another. The way the teeth fit together is a relationship. The bones in the head is another relationship. And when those relationships are out of balance, they'll clench and grind their teeth. You got muscle relationships in the body. All this affects all these structural things. And one day it came to me, there's some other relationships involved in this. It's your relationship to yourself, your relationship to God, whoever, whatever you perceive that to be, and your relationship to others. And when our relationships are out of balance, we clench and grind our teeth. And it causes this pain and endless suffering.
Hence your holistic perspective, really.
Yeah.
There are no islands.
No.
Inside the body, or
no.
Yeah.
It's not only what we eat, it's what's eating us. It's not what we say, it's what we don't say. It's what we suppress with our mouth, like clenching and grinding our teeth. Things that the mouth is really the bridge between our heart and our crown. And I think our purpose in life is to express within our heart, live by from our heart. And when we can't do that for whatever reason, we tend to clench or grind our teeth. And that keeps us from being who we really are.
Wow. And there's the pearl right there.